Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Matter Mastery podcast. I am your host, Sheb Gina, and it gives me great pleasure to invite inspirational leaders within the martial arts domain where we explore various martial arts principles and how they translate to leadership. Now, throughout these interviews, our aim is to help learn and feel inspired by how a martial artist mindset works and how it's used to empower individuals to conquer life's challenges. And today I have a very special guest. His name is Alex Fleri. Yay! Welcome to the podcast, Alex. Yay!
Hello, hi Chef. Hi, thanks for having me. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing amazing, my friend. I'm amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Now, for those of us who haven't had the pleasure, the honor to meet you, could you please give us a brief background who Alex is? How did Alex get involved with martial arts?
Sure. Okay. First of all, apologies. I'm calling you from my garage, which I use as my office in real estate and construction. So it's just the quickest way for me to set up rather than in the living room and all the curtains and all the shenanigans. Here we've got the big screen, and I can see your beautiful face, Shep, clearly, rather than on the phone or the iPad. So you're in large format. My background started training at the age of 12, actually, and started off by, I suppose, necessity. I used to get bullied in primary school as a kid, and there was this young kid, and it was a group of about 5 or 6 or 7 other kids that used to pick on me and, literally attack me and steal my lunch and steal my bag and all sorts. And on the rugby pitch, and on the football pitch, soccer football pitch, they used to kind of kick me when the ref wasn't looking. So kind of, nasty stuff as a kid. And at the age of 12, I happened to go on holiday with my father's uncle in Italy. So half Italian, half Maltese, and I went on holiday to Italy, and I stayed with Zio Pino, and Uncle Pino was a grandmaster in just about every martial art. It was amazing. So Kendo, Aikido, Judo, Jiu Jitsu, Karate. He was actually a legend in Italy. And I don't think it was an accident that I was sent there on holiday. I think my parents kind of thought, well, send him there and see what Pino can do with him. So the holiday became running on the beach at 5 a.m. and it was like something out of a Rocky movie. And I thought, this isn't what the hell is this? This isn't a holiday. But of course, I spent 4 weeks or so with him and came back pretty much transformed in the first holiday. But then, of course, guess where I wanted to go for my Easter holiday? I wanted to go and see Uncle Pino. So that was my training. That was my start. Typically, the training would be Aikido based and Kendo based as a youngster. But then when I came back and I found local martial arts schools in London, it was Taekwondo that I found locally, and Judo, and then the kickboxing started. But Taekwondo was always my go-to, and I started with that and took that up and really continued with that right up until the age, I suppose, of about 28, 29, training routinely and competing. And then, you get old, you get a bit broken and that kind of thing. So you've got to tone it down whether you want to or not. The body just doesn't react like it used to. And I'm 47 now, and train with the Stunt cadets mainly. So the Stunt Academy, which is no contact and very light on the body, but it keeps moving with some very experienced martial artists there. And in terms of other martial arts, I've done the Aikido, Judo I mentioned, Jiu Jitsu I did for a while, British kickboxing, and also boxing, standard British boxing as well. So I've done a few different martial arts in there. But MMA wasn't around when I was growing up, and it was frowned upon to do different martial arts. If you're not doing Taekwondo, how dare you do a different martial art? But MMA, what a beautiful sport to combine all the martial arts. It's a treat to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And so what inspired you to get into stunt acting?
The stunts really started a little bit accidentally, I would say. So as I mentioned, I came out of the heavy contact side and the full force of the martial arts in the ring. And I just wanted to train somewhere where I had no to light contact. And really the Stunt Academy, we met Colin Handley, who runs a Stunt Academy in Narain. And then from there, we started training with another guy called Darko, who runs another club in Coomera. And then another guy called Jason. And all three of them, Jason's my age, I think. Sorry, Jason, for giving away your age, but I think he's my age, but very talented martial artist. And Darko and Colin are probably a generation above me. And they're both, even now, they're both just so knowledgeable in their martial arts. And so just working with them and training with them routinely and learning from them in a different way. So martial arts, really in a competition way is different from martial arts in a partnership way. And so the partnership is with the movies because you're trying not to hit the other person. Actually, it's a bit of a different training mentality, but it's still about the awareness. And I ended up training with a guy called Richard Norton. And Richard Norton, like total martial arts legend, if you look him up, Chuck Norris's, best mate growing up. He's been in, I don't know how many movies, and he was doing stunt coordination or stunt choreography for Marvel. And he was pretty senior in that team. And after a 2-hour seminar where I was pretty much exhausted, I'll be honest, he said, "Oh, you're great. What's your background?" I said, "Oh, I own a large building company on the Gold Coast here, and never really time to train, but I do train with the boys at the Stunt Academy just to keep a bit active and to keep the body moving and to stay connected with martial arts, which I love so much, just to keep that awareness and to keep that body function going." So I tried never to let go of it 100%. And the Stunt Academy gave me grounds. And Richard said, "We should have you in the stunt team. You should do some more work with the guys. You should get graded. You should do the courses. You should do more than the martial arts, because we can use you on Suicide Squad 2. We can use you on Marvel. We can use you in bits and pieces, even if you don't want to do it full time. You could do it that way." Anyway, of course, business is business, and we get busy. And then I did another seminar with Van Damme. And Van Damme, we did a seminar with him, and he pretty much said the same thing. And he said, no, but he also pushed me into the producing side as well. And he said, you're wasted as a builder. We can see you as your producer, producer for the movies. You need to start making movies. And I want you to work with me on a couple of movies, Alex. Why don't you come on set with me? And so that actually never happened, because the movie I was going to do with him was called The Last Mercenary. And that got pushed into shooting schedule in COVID. And it got moved to, I think, Bulgaria or Croatia or somewhere. With all the lockdowns, I couldn't take the risk of going. So actually that was a shame, because he was here with us the day before the first lockdown. He was here on the Gold Coast with us, and then flew into the Gold Coast and then had to leave. So it was a shame, because that was going to be the launch of the I suppose, that Van Damme connection and getting everything ready. But since then we had other opportunities with COVID. An opportunity came up in Perth where they needed a stunt actor who had some martial arts training. Ended up not really using too much martial arts in the movies, just a couple of small moves and break falls and kind of commando roles. And then that led into another movie called Sons of Summer, where I had a brawl with Tamura Morrison, the New Zealand actor, the Kiwi actor, Jake the Muzz from Once Were Warriors. And recently just did one with Vanilla Ice, zombie plane. And looks like we've got another one coming up next year. It's going to be a bit of fun. So, and I did one with Luke Sparks, directed a movie recently called Bring Him to Me, and that had Sam Neill, Rachel Griffiths, and Barry Pepper in it. Barry Pepper, a great Canadian actor from Saving Private Ryan and The Green Mile. So basically doing a routine with him, a fight scene with him. So that was the kind of the metamorphosis from martial artist to stunt training to stunt actor, and now getting roles thrown at me where it's actor with no martial arts, which I'm complaining about, saying, "Oh, where's my fight scene?" And so we've got this love interest. Not interested. Give me the where's the fight? So that's the journey.
I love it. Sounds like a jam-packed action adventure. It's so good.
It's exhausting. Yeah.
I'm exhausted hearing about it. That's awesome. But what's amazing opportunity from stepping into the academy to then meeting, Richard Norton, and then having that recommendation, and then through it's just amazing how one journey leads to another, and here you are. Out of all the martial arts experience that you have, and you have a variety of those, which one do you find that has sort of like, what are the principles, or what are the principles that you've used out of your martial arts experience onto your leadership journey?
Okay. So with that, I think if you're grounded in any martial art, it doesn't matter which martial art it is. I'll be honest. I think all of them, you'll find the same. You all have your mantras. Discipline, self-control, humility. Each of them has their own mantras, even if you don't recite them at the beginning of a kickboxing class. A British kickboxing class very rarely has mantras. Boxing very rarely has a mantra, but they'll usually have slogans like show respect, self-respect, endurance, perseverance, respect your opponent. That there'll usually be a mantra within the framework of that martial art. And if you do that martial art 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week, and I include boxing. Many people say boxing is not a martial art. Actually, I think it is, because I think it's a sport with a discipline where combat is rated in the sport. So I think actually I would classify martial arts to include boxing. And I think if you have those mantras in there, you'll find that you generally apply those to other areas of your life, and that is something that you probably just take on subconsciously to start with, and then it's something that you actively start to acknowledge. And in terms of applying it into leadership, that can be something like being very aware of a situation, being very aware of a marketplace, being very aware of decisions you make and how those can ripple through other people, and how they can ripple through a working environment and a team. Being aware to keep your distance. In martial arts, it's always about distance. Every martial arts is distance. That's rule number one when you're fighting. So, of course, it's a case of also when you're in competition, because being a leader is also, you could be a sales director and be a general manager, and that's all about sales, which is about aggressive expansion. So you could have that attitude in your leadership skills as well. And that you'll find those groundings in martial arts, even if you don't know that you took them from there. If you started it as a child, you probably did.
I love it. I started martial arts in 2011. I first started with karate, and then, of course, when the dojo introduced Jiu Jitsu, I then found grappling more my type. And sure enough, the many years of training and break falling and all the drills that we would do, I really didn't see the value in all of that until one day, which would have been only a couple of years ago. I took my daughter roller skating, and we rolled down this gentle slope, just ever so gentle. And I promised her an exhilarating ride. I said it will be a roller skating escapade. And of course, she was totally against it, but somehow I lured her. I mean, I encouraged her to jump in. I held hands. I said, come on, Jen, it's going to be so much fun. This is going to be wild. Da, 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 da. No, mummy, too scared. Anyway, long story short, we held hands and off we went. And then my skates decided to pick up some speed, dragging my daughter behind me. Mother of the Year award goes to me, right? Anyway, I lowered her down, and then lo and behold, I've picked up even more momentum. And by now I'm thinking, holy moly, I have no way of knowing how to stop. And then I noticed in the environment, there was a silver handle of a rubbish bin. I thought, I'm just going to grab hold of that and hope for the best. I grabbed hold of that. I did this 360 turn, and I break fall into the ground. I kind of sprawled to the ground, got up into combat stance, ready to, like, what the hell just happened? Like, my body just reacted in this automatic way. And that made me realize the power of repetition. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like all those many years of break falling and drilling and getting back up actually saved me from sustaining a serious injury. Like, potentially I could have literally had a serious injury. I've just walked away with a scratch. I'm wondering, has there been a time in your life where you've had to, call upon some resources that you've learned and gained through your experience?
Look, there have been multiple times in kind of accidental environment, if you can put it that way. There have been, I can give you an example like that. Actually, there's a property that we're selling, because we're a husband and wife real estate team now on the Gold Coast. So you can Google Alex and Victoria Real Estate, and you'll see the properties we've got. And we had a big auction at a property called Bellagio, which is one of Australia's most prestigious and exclusive properties. And we had people trying to get into that property. And this one guy wouldn't give his ID. In fact, I have to make a decision on what I do with this because it happened in February this year. So this one guy wouldn't give his ID. We had security on the door, but they could tell he had money. He was talking the right way, but he was a bit arrogant in the way that he was handling things. And I rushed down to the gate from the main house. Took me about 5 minutes there. He still wouldn't give me his name. He changed his name from the name he gave the security guards to what he gave me. But he had a $250,000, $300,000 BMW Mercedes. So, you know, nice brand new car. It just seemed like he was genuine, but didn't really want to impart information. And of course, we're not selling a 1-bedroom unit where you can just look around. We've got, actually in the house, we had 5 legitimate registered billionaires. Some of the richest people in Australia had come to this auction, including the seller, of course, who himself is a billionaire who likes his privacy. And you've got this one guy on the gate saying, I'm not giving you any information. I want to come in. You let me in. You will let me in. And he just got more and more aggressive. And I just kept the tone down, kept the tone down, kept the tone down. Unfortunately, we couldn't let him in because of the way he was reacting. And so I invited him to leave. But as he was about to reverse, he was about to hit a car behind him because of the way that the road was positioned and where he parked inside the property. And you're talking about a property that's got 49 hectares, so we're not tight for space. As I turned my back, he slammed his wheel into reverse lock and ran me over with the car from behind. And as I saw this car coming towards me, he already had, as I saw it, he already had the tip of his wheel was already catching on the outside right-hand side of my boot. And all I could do was just hit the deck as fast as I could to let the car roll over the top of me. And I hit the deck at such speed without even, I did think about it, but it was like you said, you had instinct. So although your body is thinking instinct, actually your brain, which is thinking, okay, there's a danger here, there's a hazard here. What are my get out? What are my get out options? And my only get out option at that time was to process the information at that speed, was to hit the deck in a break fall as fast as I could and let the car roll up onto me, which is what happened. So the car pinned me both legs. The tire was sitting on my upper shin bone, pinning both legs on top of each other. And he did it deliberately. There was no two ways about it. And literally, I think if that had anybody else, they'd be in a wheelchair now because he just went for me. And I was so polite and so docile in my approach. There was no other way of him. In other words, if I'd been aggressive and I could understand, but there was no way of him having an excuse to do that, other than the fact he was frustrated. He then tried to leave the scene. We shut the gate. We had security. They had the dogs. So he was locked in. And then, of course, guess what? It became, okay, do I call the police? I've got an auction to run. What do I do? So I managed to stand up by the end of the auction and I let him in. So finally, he gave me his name and I could see who he was. I was like, okay, well, what was that for? Like, why would you, like, what are you about, man? Like, why would you do that? So have I actually gone through some repair work on that? No operations, but just working with personal trainers, working myself, stretching the ligaments, realigning things, working with the chiropractors, realigning discs, and just working through that. So that was from February this year. So, and actually what did happen was I didn't realize everything in here on my left hand was dislocated through my wrist, through my thumb, through my fingers. I had no idea. And it just kept seizing up. And then slowly, we started to reconnect all the joints and relocate them. So it does happen in that way. So when you've got that awareness, it does happen. Another incident, or you can take that training into violent crime. Not that wasn't a violent crime, but let's call it a deliberate violent crime where someone's trying to mug you, or you can be alert to dangers on the street. You'll always find that training is in you. You'll find that you're aware of it. You're checking out a room. You're aware of the people in the room more often than not. So you're aware of your surroundings more than most people. And you can actually see a situation escalating, as I did with that, and I saw the car come in. You can see a situation escalating just in time, or just get ahead of the curve, which is really what that was about. Somebody who was untrained, they would have just been flattened. So you look at that, and there's people who've come up to me in the street or in an altercation or an argument or whatever that is, and they start to elevate and elevate and elevate, and you can see where that escalation is going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank goodness. It's just the gift that keeps on giving, the martial arts training. It's absolutely phenomenal. I'll share with you a funny story just to lighten the conversation a bit. My husband, we were in the kitchen, I was cooking, and he went to go to give me a hug. And mind you, my mindset was, at this point I was training 5, sometimes 6 days a week. So I'm like constantly like, you talk about awareness. He goes to give me a hug. I've quickly grabbed the underhook, spun him around, put him in a headlock, and he's going, "What are you doing?" I said,
I've met your husband. I can agree.
He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, sorry, I don't know. I'm just
honey, I just like it rough." Yeah.
It was hilarious. I was like, "Oh, I don't know where that came from. Sorry, I'm still."
So dinner's off tonight, honey? Yeah, no dinner tonight. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. It's like, go cook your own meal.
Yeah. I'll stay in the spare room tonight. Yeah. He wouldn't have even known what was happening because he's quite a big, stocky guy. Your husband, so you would have been kind of nimble around him before he's coming. Just
when I get excited, Alex, I'm just nothing can get in my way. Oh, it's funny. Anyway, that's just again the gift that keeps on giving, right? And people benefiting, and and paying dividends.
Yeah.
Now, in your experience with martial arts, how has it assisted you in your professional career? Because I know you have a successful business in real estate. In what ways has this helped you assist in your success?
I think when you start with martial arts, you start with no knowledge and you start with no understanding, and you actually you understand a lot less than you realize. So as you grow through that, you start to apply yourself to higher barriers. You push yourself through different journeys, and some of the martial arts you might, for argument's sake, you might take up, as I did, gymnastics, to link it with the martial arts, to allow me to do the jumping, spinning kicks and the flip kicks and the backward somersault kicks and the front flip. That was part of the journey that I adapted to further my martial arts. And you can look at the kids on Instagram now, they're all amazing at it. They're all doing it. But not many people were doing those kind of things growing up because there wasn't really that much. Scott Atkins is probably the guy who really brought that to the screen more than Van Damme. And Scott Atkins, brilliant gymnast combined with more martial arts. The point I'm making there is when you start with that and you have that kind of understanding that you can grow at any age, you can start to grow, and as long as you're open to pain and sacrifice and pushing through barriers and that growth mentality, you can then apply that to a business, and you can say, okay, I'm going to start a business today, and in 2 years I'm going to have a goal of X, or in 3 years I'm going to have a goal of Y. Or in 6 months, even I want a smaller goal of A to B to C, and you can start with those goals. Often, the thing that holds people back is actually your mentality of your age, and so you can have a problem where you say, "I'm only 21, I'm too young." Look, I'm 24 now. I should have started when I was 21. I'm 30. I wish I'd started when I was 19. I'm 47. It's too late for me to start something I should have started when I was 30. You can always have that reason not to start on a journey and not to push. Whereas actually you can turn it around and say, life is short. You only have, 70, 80 years, not that long really. And that's a full innings. Many people don't make it that long. So life is short. So why not apply yourself to something that you can push the journey through and grow? And when you take that knowledge and that experience from martial arts and start to push that through different business models and your leadership skills, you'll actually find that the martial arts grounding gives you that sense of adventure, if you like. You talked about an adventure earlier, that sense of adventure to push it forward through. And if you think about people who do different martial arts, even you yourself, you said different martial arts, you did karate, but then you did jiu-jitsu and you found yourself more at home with jiu-jitsu. Well, what if you just stayed with karate and you never tried jiu-jitsu, but you've really, you enjoy the jiu-jitsu, that's where you become, and poor Jose now has to endure jiu-jitsu on a Friday night instead of, are we making love tonight? No, honey, we're just going to put you in a headlock and throw you over the couch. But what a difference that would have been. And actually, it could have been a different part of your life where you just stay with karate. Maybe you wouldn't have enjoyed it so much. So it's a case of saying, okay, well, I'm X amount of years old, I'm going to try this. And you push yourself through something new. And I'm sure it was a very different feeling. Jiu-jitsu, actually, what a different martial art with somebody around you and close to you, and distance on a micro level. Jiu-jitsu, just talking about that, you're super aware, because while your arm is doing this, somebody else's leg is doing that, and you have to be aware of the body in all different components of the different opponent as well, not just your own body, of the different opponent that he's up to. It's like wrestling a python, and so when you've got that kind of awareness and that kind of belief to push through, then you can apply that to your business, and it doesn't have to be a business, but why not apply it to your normal career path as well? And to say, I want to elevate, I want to escalate, I want to stand out, I want to push forward. And that certainly is applicable from martial arts into a professional environment, for sure.
No, I love that. Now, can you recall a moment in time where you had this profound insight, and how you link that insight into whether it be in your personal life or your professional life? Was there a moment in time where this light bulb moment came on and we're like, oh my goodness?
I don't know that I'd be able to pinpoint a specific moment that relates to my business as it is, but I would say the biggest one I can put that down to is the move from the UK to Australia. And I would say, now, whether that, I have never really thought of that question, I'll be honest, Sheb, I've never really relayed that question back to where that came from. But there was a definite light bulb moment where I said, for me, I felt that the UK was broken as a country, and I felt that the policies of that country were going to take us in the wrong direction, which in my opinion they have. And I had the opportunity with Victoria to relocate to the Gold Coast. And to me, there was a light bulb moment of that. Now, whether that's got anything to do with martial arts or leadership or not, I don't know. It might do, because it might have that sense of adventure, kind of digging a little bit deeper here. We're getting under the hood a little bit. There might be something where you say, well, that sense of adventure where you go, okay, I'm 28, 29. It's okay for me to move to another country and start a new business. So maybe that's part of that same conversation. I've just never really retrospectively looked at it, I'll be honest.
Or a level of awareness.
Yeah, and I've never really applied that to that journey. But now you've asked me that question, I would say that that's in there.
I love it. What's been the most challenging part of studying martial arts for you? And how did you overcome this?
The most challenging was to integrate it with running the business, because there's only 24 hours in the day, and we all know that mortgages get in the way, family commitments get in the way, staff need commitments. Even now I'm talking to you and there's text messages coming in and emails coming in. There is a certain level of commitment that you have to apply to the discipline of martial art if you want to keep going. But also there's an economic reality and a commercial decision that you need to make as to where your best time is placed. And your time is the most precious commodity. So if you're wasting it on somebody or wasting it on something, stop wasting it. You just get that wasting out of your life, because as I go back to, life is short. And if you're going to waste your time on somebody who's just bringing you down, or a toxic personality, or whatever that waste is, I would stop that. So to me, that's the challenge, finding the balance. And I think I found an answer that I was happy with, which was to train at the Stunt Academy, which allowed me to keep my skill set up. It allowed me to keep learning, because we were learning different things. It allowed me to work with different age groups of different backgrounds. And so, the Stunt Academy got a lot of younger guys coming through, younger girls coming through, very talented gymnasts coming through. And they're also learning as they go. And so you're watching them grow and you're watching them mature. And you're also dealing with older people who perhaps haven't got the prime skill set or the kind of the movement they used to have, just because they're older, and that they're also carrying injuries like we all do. And so they take a toll, but they know their stuff. You can't take away the experience that they had, and you can't take away their ability to perform at a certain level. So from their heyday, like back in the day, back in the day, but back in the day still counts for back in the day. So, and you can only ever be the best fighter on the day or the best performer on the day. So to say back in the day, I was the best, well, yeah, they were. So that still has a level of respect, even if they're not the best performer on that day, because they have the knowledge of what it took to be the best. I mean, are you ever going to say Arnie is now 73 years old, therefore he was never the best at what he did? We know that these guys were the best at what they did back in the day. And so it's always, always going to be something you need to give a level of respect to. And I suppose that's a way that you just have to frame that,
Yeah, I agree. Now, on the topic of consistently training and finding that balance, at what point can leaders sort of determine when to draw that line? Because you have some of those who, I'm a recovering perfectionist, and I would, back in the day, would be training, 5-6 times a week. And there was a point where I reached burnout. At what point, and what sort of recommendations or suggestions or coping strategies might you have for those leaders where they're just constantly pushing and pulling and, enduring before they sort of reach that burnout position, that burnout level?
Look, the irony is, here's two things. The irony is the fitter you get, the more you push yourself. So no one gets fitter and then says, right, I'll sit on the couch. That's not a thing. So even I've got a friend in a bodybuilding competition at the moment, and he's exhausted, like he's doing amazing. Body looks amazing for bodybuilding. And I know that the efforts that all of those guys are going through, and they're given certain rest days that they have to take as their rest day. And he's gets so angry on his rest day because he feels like he should be doing something. But actually he is doing something. He's being told to rest on that rest day, but he would rather be training on that rest day. But it's part of his routine. So the human brain is not built to want to perform at a higher level only to want to take it back. It always wants to push to the next level. If you're built that way and that's what you want to do, that's the way you're going to go. The actual unfortunate answer is that if you want to be a leader and you want to reach those levels, you are going to have to push through those barriers where you break, where you burn out. Those are, let's call them achievement gates. And your body will tell you that you have reached those gates. And it will become maybe anxiety, it'll become depression, it'll become social awkwardness or seclusion. Those are levels of growth, and you can't get through the next level without going through those valleys of pain and depression and anxiety. You just can't. It's not achieved. It's not, and it's also not realistic. You're not going to be able to throw yourself into a position of ultimate performance for 80 years. It's just not real. It's just a fantasy. That's Captain America kind of stuff. It doesn't exist. The reality is, you see some of the sprinters that we used to watch growing up, or some of the fighters that we watched growing up, or some of the boxers we watched growing up, and you see that their injuries and their illnesses that maybe have been sustained through their perseverance in their sport, those things have caught up with them. And the same is true with leaderships. How many people do drugs? How many people do even just cigarettes, where they just say, I need this moment? That's actually a broken part of their mindset, that they need these kind of little pickups to keep going. They're playing at high levels, and so they break, and then they go into these kind of downward cycles. Then they're going to start again, and rebuild. And maybe they learn from the mistakes that they've made. With a bit of luck, they can learn from their own mistakes, and they can learn from other people's mistakes. So to me, you really can't advise somebody to pull back. Even the rest day, I bring it back to that, it's difficult because you find them cheating on their rest day, and they're not supposed, I want you to rest today. They don't do it. They can't. They just can't. They're out for a walk. They're out doing something they shouldn't be doing. They should be resting, and they don't. They just keep going. And that's how they're made up. And I think that's almost wonderful in a way. It's a bit stupid, but it's wonderful.
Yeah. No, I get it, and I have been there many times myself, and it's not pleasant once you get down to that level. It's but it's absolutely true when you cross that barrier, and that's like when I'm rolling, or when you're perhaps fighting and you're just fatigued, and it's just like a constant pushing and enduring, and but when you come out the other side, you do feel like, I do feel much stronger for it, and as you said, you don't grow. Your lung capacity doesn't grow if it's not pushed to the point of exhaustion and that kind of thing. So I totally agree and understand where you're coming from. Here's a really good question. Well, I think it is anyway.
I'm sure I wouldn't dare disagree.
What's your definition of success?
Okay. So this is a good question. And actually, I'm always fascinated by the responses people give on this. They relate it to family, they relate it to money, they relate it to health, they relate it to a lot of these bigger existential items that are kind of, in a way, I would say unquantifiable, because all of those things are only fleeting for a short period. So you can have wealth and you could lose it. You can have health and you can become ill, because unfortunately every life comes with a death sentence. It just does. It's just part of nature. So health for longevity, that's great. And what do you do in that time? I made money, I did this, I did that. So health gives you life, and understand that. And then what are you going to do with that? So it's a lead-on question. So I've always struggled with the question in a larger format, and I try to manage that question in a smaller format, almost maybe a micromanaged format. And I would say that I bring it down to an event where you can enjoy success 20 to 30 times a day. And I put it into this framework, and I would say the way I would sum it up is this: if you can walk into a room and if you can leave it better than the condition on how you found it, I would say you've had a successful interaction for that moment. And it can be a Zoom, it can be a telephone call, it can be your car where you just tidy up. And so, for example, mine was a bit messy this morning before I went for a meeting, and I opened the door. I said, no, I've got 2 minutes. I'm going to tidy the car quickly. And then I felt like I had just a mini success where I've made the room feel better than how I found it, because how I found it was a bit tragic. And so I gave it a tidy up. I put the new air freshener up, and that was a way of saying, right, okay, that's off to a positive start. And I think actually the army, I saw a colonel once said, make your bed, make your bed, make your bed. And actually, it's not too far off that, really, is it? Because that's the first moment when you wake up, your bed is messy, and you're leaving that room in a better way than how you found it. So if you can do that, and if you can have a positive atmosphere, it's not always going to work, of course, because other people have different agendas when you're with different dynamics. But you can try, and at least that will give you the objective of success. And instead of it being one big thing that you've got to aim for that almost might seem unachievable, or such a long journey that it seems kind of impossible to achieve, you might start with some smaller things that then grow into that level up. And I think that's how I would impart the form of success that I would go with, rather than these big ticket items.
I love that. And of course, energy is filtered from the top, right? So if you're at a senior level, or you're the CEO or the founder of the business, and you have a team of people that you work with, it makes sense. Once you have tidied up your car, you feel better about yourself, and that energy is going to filter through to the rest of the environment.
Correct.
Total sense. have you found a way to try and influence that environment? Like, so what sort of other tips could you provide on how else to influence? Yes, we can. I mean, we can't change anybody, that's for sure. We can't, make somebody do something they don't want to do. But what's the way that you could recommend or that you've used where you have influenced your environment? Is it, do you throw out some motivational quotes? Is it like, how do we bring about that attitude of change where we get to spread that beautiful energy and share it with the world and create that success, not only for us, but those around us?
So,
what are some ways?
Yeah. So drawing, I suppose, from the real estate side of things, you do have to be a persuasive speaker in real estate, and especially at the level that we operate at with our client base. That's not to say that people who have a cheaper house don't have the same problems. They're just on a smaller scale, to be honest. And some of those things can be simply a willingness to accept the fact that it's time to move on with life and let some of that past go. And so in terms of imparting wisdom or changing that environment, we had somebody who, I'll give an example, they had their house on the market and it was clearly based around $200,000 to $300,000 more than the comparable houses that had sold in the area. And I took over the listing from another agent. The other agent was away. I had a Zoom call with the owner. I found out he was the CEO of quite a large company. So this was not a financial decision. This was just a family decision to put the house on the market. I'm looking at the house, my first Zoom call. I'm looking at the price. I looked at him. I said, I just want to ask, are you emotionally connected with the house? And he took that back. And I said, I said, I can't understand. I said, it looks like to me you're trying to sell the memories of this house and put a premium on those memories. And he broke down in tears. He said, yes, okay, my father lived in this house. He passed away 6 months ago. That's my dad's house, blah, blah, blah. And of course, again, I started crying. He was crying. We had a beautiful moment there. And because I go, what do you want to do? You don't need the money. Like, I can tell you don't need the money. I'm looking at him on Zoom and I'm seeing the mansion with the chandeliers and the Ferrari in the background. This was not a money conversation. This is a life conversation. And so I said to him, okay, what do you want to do? You want to take the house off the market and maybe go and have lunch there a few times and maybe reminisce about days growing up there with your father? Is that what you want to do? No, I don't want to do that. I said, okay, do you want to take the house off the market and rent it out and put strangers in the house? No, I don't want to do that. Do you want to maybe get a young family in there who've got 2 young kids and maybe give them a chance to enjoy new memories? Oh, the tears started. Yeah, that's what we need to do. Okay, to do that, I need you to lower the price $300,000 because they're not going to pay for the memories of your own father. They're just not going to put a premium on it like you are. So sometimes you just have to actually, it sounds a bit harsh, but you actually have to identify the truth. And the truth will set you free, as we know. That is but you can't just lay it out in a hard, fast, blunt instrument. You have to take them through the journey of what the truth is. And you find that in martial arts. You find that strength to confront your fears. You find that strength to deal with animosity. You find that strength to push through those barriers. Those are difficult conversations to have. Okay, they're not the very difficult conversations that I imagine doctors have all over the world of hasn't done so well in the operation and, you've got 6 months to live. There are those conversations that go on in the world. But there are difficult conversations if you're letting someone go, if you're, letting a major amount of staff go. There are difficult conversations that you have to have. And they're not pleasant. But if you do it in such a way that you lay the truth on the table and you allow the journey of the truth to present itself, it's kind of like saying, look, those are the cards we've got. Did you want to call? Did you want to raise or did you want to fold? What do you want to do? These are the cards. And to say we never get any dealt cards means you're actually not doing anything really with your life because you want to put yourself in a position where you're making decisions. And if you're not making decisions, then that's not a leadership role. That's where things are happening to you and not happening that you're not creating those opportunities. So that's I suppose where you say you can change someone by using martial arts, but you have to know how to channel that.
And would it be fair to say that your many years of practice, being able to think quick on the spot, being able to make those quick decisions on the spot, has contributed to your ability to be able to pick up on that?
Yes, I'd say that is true. And often what we'll do, I know I'm talking a lot because it's an interview, but often, believe it or not, I do listen. And I'll ask the questions if you don't mind. You shut up, Shed. I'm asking the question. So we'll ask the questions, and those questions we're looking for the truth. And it's not that we want to use that truth as a weapon. It's that we want to help buyers and sellers be able to move on with their lives. Yes, we're on commission as real estate agents, so of course they know we've got a self-interest, because without a deal we don't get a paycheck. But they also have to be comfortable in the deal, in their own skin, because ultimately it's their decision. And so the martial arts does give you the insight to study, to listen, to really hone in on those words and really hone in on that body language and say, okay, we can see that maybe the body language may be a little bit uncomfortable there. That didn't really, didn't really work for me. Let's take it down a notch and let's reset. So if you're watching martial arts and you're watching your opponent, or in stunts, your partner, and you're watching the body language, and they always tell you, if you see the punch, it's actually the shoulder you look at, because the shoulder moves, generally the shoulder moves before the fist. If you're watching the fist, it's already hitting you in the face, So there's the lead of boxing, watch the shoulder, and always with the eyes. Why? Because the eyes might give you a little glance down to the feet, might give you a little glance down to the shoulder. And so that's why they always say study the eyes. But studying the eyes is really code for, it gives you total peripheral vision. It doesn't mean just look at the eyes and ignore everything else. It just gives you something to focus on, because if I just look at your left arm, I'm missing everything else. But the eyes gives you that aura of peripheral vision. So using that and using it for leadership skills, negotiation, or difficult meetings, or landing. Sometimes we'll test a fact by laying out fiction and seeing what comes back. So that's another one that I've actually learned through real estate. We'll throw something out. So I'll give you an example. Somebody said to me, "Oh, what do you think those apartments will sell for?" They're clearly going to want $1 million for those apartments. But I don't want to give out what I want to know, what I know. I want to find out what he asked me the question. I want to now know what he wants to think. So I said, "Oh, 600,000-700,000." And he went, "What? As if 600? Are you mad? Where do you get 600? How do you get 600? Oh, well, okay. What do you think? Oh, it's got to be 1.2. Oh, okay. How do you get to 1.2? Well, this. He already knows his costings. He knows everything. He doesn't need to ask me. So why did he ask me?" So now I'm probing. Oh, he's thinking of looking at an apartment. Maybe he's got a budget 1.2. So I'm using that extraction. Why would he spend so much time to know what an apartment costs if he's got nothing to do with it? Are you looking for something? Yeah, we're looking maybe at a holiday apartment somewhere. Oh, okay, now. Okay. So it's being in tune with the conversation. The more I think about it, yeah, 600,000 or 700,000 is too cheap. You make a good point. It's got to be 1.2. Now I know when I sell him something for 1.2, it's going to be hard for him to back out of an argument to say it's only worth 800. Because he's giving me the selling points is why at 1.2. So even that, just a small chance encounter, just that small meeting, you use that knowledge, that intuition to build on that conversation. And that's throwing out fiction to see what comes back. So, and so we'll use fiction and fact as the two vehicles, always in a gentle way. I didn't make him look like the idiot. I made myself look like the idiot. That way he was able to really kind of give me the information. I led by following in that conversation, but I wanted the information. And he started the conversation. He approached me. I thought, oh, let's get that. Okay. So I could have said, mate, no idea, got to go. But I thought, no, why has he done that? Let's pick it up. So again, that's an intuition, and that's an instinct. You do find it in the grounding in martial arts.
Yeah. I love how you touched on intuition, and I'm big on spirituality. I'm huge on spirituality, and I believe there are some elements in martial arts that bring out the intuition and spirituality from a person deep within. I'm wondering, have you had experience on a spiritual level, any sort of mystical experiences that you've had that you could share? Any stories?
I do. So I never believed in ghosts. I'll be honest. I thought I never. And I had a couple of experiences where I definitely believe in ghosts now, and I don't really care what anybody else wants to say. So we had a large timber supplier from the construction industry where I went to this place up in Brisbane, and it was on the old docks there. And there was an old office on this first floor, and there was a whole heap of junk in the way of the office. And I said to the guy, I said, "Oh, what's in that old office upstairs?" He goes, No, we're not going that way. And I'm kind of scrambling over old refrigerators and a forklift that was on its side that had just been left there for years. And, I'm going over this kind of old scrap metal rubbish heap. And he says, "Alex, just get down from it. Just come back." And I said, "Mate, I don't know what it is, but I've got to go in that room. I'm just compelled." And so he laughed. He said, "Oh, the boys have told you." I said, "Tell me what?" He said, "Oh, well, they've obviously told you, Alex. Just come on down." And I said, "Mate, I don't know what you're talking about." I opened the door, and this wall of energy just hit me, and I can't explain it. It was just like a wave of cold energy, and I was just stuck. I just could not move, and I was just frozen, literally frozen. I said, "What?" And he goes, "Oh, we've got a ghost, and he was murdered in that room, and he wants to show you where he was murdered." I went, "What?" I said, "Why didn't you say anything?" He said, "I've been trying to tell you for the last 30 seconds. I said, "But you never said we got a ghost who was murdered. Don't go up there." You just said, "Don't go up there." He said, "Yeah, but this is not the kind of thing that, he said, "You'll think I'm mad." I said, "Well, okay, but now what do I do?" And he goes, "You're not coming out backwards. I'm telling you now, you've got to go forwards." And it was so black. It wasn't even black like when you shut your eyes and you can still see it. It was black, like unnatural blackness. And I had to walk through this room, and I could feel this thing got a hold of me, and he just guided me through this room to a cloakroom, and I just had to look up. And he says, and the supplier, my friend, was saying, "Okay, as you get through the darkness," he was calling out, "as you get through the darkness, there'll be a cloakroom on your right, and the bright light will just hit you." And sure enough, it was like, boom. It was like, whoa. And it was a cloakroom on which there were coat hooks, and apparently that's where they hung him. And so you have to watch this thing. So his name's Colin. Okay, Colin. Yeah, okay. Blah. So they had a clairvoyant in because things were happening. The radio was going crazy. The forklift would move. The dog would go crazy. So they had a clairvoyant in, and the clairvoyant sensed it from the front gate. Didn't even get to the office. Sensed it from all the way 200 meters away and said, "Oh, you've got a lunchroom here called Colin." And they went, I said, "No, I can feel it. He was murdered here. Show me where he was murdered." And they went, "Oh my God." So I took him to Colin's lunchroom, and that's where it is, sure enough. So that's how they had the whole information. And since then, that was an amazing experience. And then something else happened with that ghost where he grabbed my arm later on when I was walking under the office, and you can feel like the indentations on the skin, and you could see them in the light. And you were like,
wow.
He said he doesn't want you to go. He wants you to stay. So like, oh, okay, all right. So we wanted to talk to him. So I spent 5 minutes talking to him, and just weird. And I'm talking to, and of course I've got somebody in front of me who's also talking to him. So we're both two idiots talking to nobody, but clearly something's going on. Anyway, I said, "Well, how do we get out of this?" He said, "Oh, he said, "We'll turn the light on and he'll go away." And that's what happened. So yes, we then go to another property in Mudgeerbar, and I opened the door, bang. And I said to my wife, and I said to the owner, I said, "Don't go in there. That's haunted." And she said, "Yes, it is haunted. The lady was killed in that room." Oh my God. So I've had it happen like 2 or 3 times now, where once, and I went, it sounds mad. So I don't expect people to understand it if it hasn't happened to them. I expect them to be exactly like I was and call me an idiot. And I fully respect their authority to do that because that's where I was probably, say, 8 years ago. That's what I would have said. So fully respect their ability to do that.
I believe you. I believe you. I do.
But it's something that's changed. You just if you feel it, and yourself, Chef, have you had that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I would often get visits in the middle of the night, And I
You
have
sure
had
that's your Jose? That's why the headlock comes in. Is that the husband trying on again? Yeah. Get in your room. Get out. Oh, it's me. It's me.
He's my protector. He's my protector.
Yeah, sure.
I have had some very similar experiences where I've actually felt them sitting on the edge of my bed, and I've had them pinning me to the bed. I don't know, but I've had some. I've had some
It's
weird.
weird. You can just feel it. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
And as you say it out now, it sounds weird, but you know that it's happened because you're going, whoa. So I don't know if that's martial arts related. I don't know if it's just too much caffeine. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely there somewhere.
I love it. I love it. I want to ask you a question about Van Damme because I know you have some really cool stories about him. Is there one that you'd be able to share with us? What? One that you're allowed to share?
Yeah, one I'm allowed to share. Okay, yeah, okay, sure. Okay. Anybody who knows Van Damme knows you've either got 12 hours of training ahead of you or 12 hours of partying ahead of you.
He was my childhood crush, Alex.
Oh my God.
I had the biggest crush on him. I watched all his movies. I tried to do his moves, the kick that he did, the roundhouse, and then where I landed flat on my face.
That was the ghost pulling you down, the ghost of Van Damme. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you a good story, and then I'm going to have to sign off, but I'm going to give you a good one. Okay, so the way we met him was actually quite amazing. So we were actually started off by doing a martial arts seminar, and then the booking agent said, look, we're not going to do a martial arts seminar. He's tired. He's had a long flight. He wants to do dinner instead at the restaurant. And can you and your wife just do dinner instead? So I said, yeah, okay. We were going to go down to Melbourne or Sydney, I think Melbourne, and do the seminar. And he said, look, instead of it being $350 a ticket for the seminar, it's like $4,000 or $5,000 for the dinner. So I went, I said, yeah, okay, put us down for 2 tickets. It's okay. So this weekend's like a $30,000 weekend suddenly, the flights, the shopping, the hotel, the this, that, the other, the walking around cash, and the dinner. I think I wouldn't have seen any change out of 25 at least. So maybe 25, 30 a few years ago. Anyway, so we go to this dinner, and in walks JC, and there's a room full of other people, maybe 6, 7, 8 people at the table, and had all paid to be at this dinner. And incidentally, I'll just say this now before I forget, he actually gave all money away to Animals Australia, which he didn't know at the time of buying the ticket. He didn't actually keep any of the money for himself. He gave it all to Animals Australia. So in that moment, my friend John was next to me and a few other people, and Dan asks, okay, John, what makes you the biggest Van Damme fan? I thought, this would be good. I thought, well, okay, what's John going to say? And blew me away, blew all of us away. Well, I was abused as a child by my family members. I don't really speak about this. And I'm thinking, what? Like, what? Watching your movies gave me the martial arts understand. I trained like Van Damme just so I could beat the shit out of those guys so they could never touch me again. And he was going into a bit of graphic detail, which I won't share his private, but and Van Damme like with the mouth open, and I think we all were, and me in particular had no idea. So I just put my arm around John. Actually, I think I pushed him away a little bit, but put my arm around John, like, oh my God, this is incredible. So Van Damme was the inspiration for this guy to break that cycle and to push through that. And we thought, okay, move on to the lady next to us. I thought, this would be good, a bit of levity coming. I was given 6 months to live with cancer, and I set myself up on the couch. I bought the gift box set. That was going to be my checkout deal. And I bought the gift box set, and I started watching all the Van Damme on VHS. This was, I think she said. And I bought all the Van Damme videos, and I was watching them all one by one until I started thinking, yeah, I can do a sit-up. Yeah, I can get off the couch. I can do tricep dips on the couch, and I can start training to get through. And she said, I'm convinced that helped me break the cancer barrier, that I pushed through cancer because I started getting my body active He said, I couldn't do much, but what I could do, I did because of Van Damme on the screen. And I want to thank you for giving me my life back. And so again, we're all crying, we're all streaming, and we're thinking, bloody, like, you know, and there was 6 or 7 people to go. I was like, oh my God. So anyway, so then he got to at least one guy and they go, okay, Clayton, how many Van Damme movies can you name? So Dan obviously knew that Clayton could name the movies. And this guy named every single movie in chronological order. I said, well, hang on, we need security here. This guy's not a fan. He's a stalker. Well, this is next level. So anyway, so we all had a bit of a laugh. We had a bit of a moment of reprieve. Then there were some other people who had some other heavy family stuff. Finally got to my wife, Victoria. And they said, okay, Victoria, what makes you the biggest Van Damme fan? And she says, I remember you in those tiny little white shorts in Kickboxer. You filthy cow. Is that why we're here? And so, of course, he's laughing and Victoria, shut up, JC. It's, you stay back over there. And then it came to me. And they said, okay, Alex, how many movies can you name? And it kind of caught me off guard because I thought they were going to say I was the biggest fan. So I said, movies, Kickboxer, Bloodsport, Time Cop. And they said, well, you're the worst Van Damme fan, Alex. I said, that could be. I said, but maybe could I just make a point? I'm probably the biggest Jean-Claude Van Varenberg fan. And you had 32 fights and you lost one. I was going to ask you about the one you lost. And he went, oh, you're a fighter. I said, yes, I'm a fighter. They said, okay, I'll call you afterwards and we'll arrange the sparring from there. So that's when we got to do the sparring competition after that. So that was just, I had an interest in the martial arts. Of course, the movies is a reflection of his talents, but actually his talents are martial arts and ballet, of course, which he integrated into the martial arts. So that to me was, I suppose, a fun story I could share. The other stories I cannot share.
And I respect that. Thank you. Wow. That's exciting. Look, I'm mindful of your time, but before we go, is there any other words of wisdom that you wish to share with the world?
I would say, of course, keep training. And if you stop training, maybe just start training again. Everyone in the dojo, whichever dojo you go to, they will be there to help you. If you want to go with a family member and mother and daughter, or son or father wants to take the family, it's a great family experience to go and start learning. And you might even learn some things about each other and have some fun with each other, not always on the the phone and the texting and the video game. If you used to do it and you're out of it and you have some time, I'm always mindful, like you're respectful of my time. You just mentioned, I'm always aware of other people. It's easy to say these things, but if you can find 1 hour a week to go to a dojo, go to a gym and just start the stretching, just finding that connectivity with the ground, that energy with the floor, even walking on the treadmill. If you don't have time to go and walk out in bad weather, wherever you are in the world, if you have that time, just find that time. And you might find that it adds moments to your life, and each moment that it adds to your life, you can do that thing where you can be just a little bit more successful in the room. And really, what else have you got to do? Nothing else.
Get it, just show up. Alex Fleri, thank you for your time. Thank you for your words of wisdom, your stories. I really greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for listening, for watching, wherever you are in the world. We really hope you've enjoyed this. I certainly have enjoyed my time listening to the amazing wisdom that Alex has got to share. Remember to stay curious, stay focused with intention, and always trust that you always have the ability and the resources to just pull and endure, push and endure. Be patient, be consistent, but persistent.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Lovely. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Shep.